Hi, my name is Danielle Scott and welcome to my studio. I'm going to share a little bit about myself with you and also the exhibition Why We Do What We Do that is featured at or on exhibition at Express Newark. Um, I am a trained oil painter, so one of the paintings is in the back. And over the recent years, I've discovered my love for assemblage and collaging and found objects. So I consider myself now an assemblage artist who works within many mediums outside of oil paints. So I would also be considered a mixed media artist. Um, I graduated from the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and I also graduated from Arts High School in Newark. And that is one of the reasons why I participated in the exhibition Why We Do What We Do. Um, when I was asked to participate or exhibit in What We Do, What We Do, Why We Do What We Do, I knew it was a dedication to a very special woman, Mrs. Gladys Barker Grower. So the piece that I have in the exhibition, Why We Do What We Do, is a piece dedicated to Miss Grower. My history or my story with Miss Grower goes way back to 1994. I went to Arts High School and I was introduced to Miss Grower through the late, great, legendary Alita Caldwell, who was the principal of Arts High School. And she said to me, I think I have the perfect person to mentor you. So I met Miss Grower when I was 15 years old. I am 42. And Miss Grower mentored me for nearly 26 years. My first meeting of Miss Grower she was the most hilarious person you could be around. Her her sarcasm, her love for politics and storytelling is what I was naturally drawn to. I have a tendency to enjoy spending time with older people. And when I met Miss Grower, she was in her 70s. And my first encounter with her family was going to Miss Grower's 75th birthday party. And going to this party actually changed my life as an artist and as a human. I got to experience Miss Grower dancing on the floor, twirling around this bright gold dress. And I said to myself, Miss Grower is a superhuman. Unfortunately, Miss Grower passed away last year at the age of 95 years old. I can actually be happy now and smile about it. It's not that I'm happy that she passed away, but I am happy that I got to experience a woman of that nature, a person, a being who was so loving and so caring of her family and of her students. She was a teacher before she became a mentor. She was a famous artist, a well-known artist. She opened the first African American gallery, or the first gallery in Newark, and she opened it with women. And her goal was to open this gallery where women who had children were able to bring their children and be able to create. So she didn't want home life to interfere with being an artist. So those are a lot of things that I learned from Miss Grower. I happen to be a mother of three, and I learned that I don't have to stop creating in order to be a mom. I am also an art teacher, so this is going to be my 19th year teaching art in Jersey City. She was also an art teacher. So the why we do what we do. I do what I do because of people or women that have inspired me to be me. Miss Grower is that person who did that for me. Miss Grauer taught me to be myself, to be bold. Don't be afraid to express what I need to express in my work. I don't have the piece that's in the exhibition, but there's an example of what Miss Grauer's piece kind of looks like. I created this piece on Miss Grauer, which was based on her first day going to college as an art student. So there was this beautiful black and white image that was taken of Miss Grauer in the middle of the street in Chicago. And I decided, I needed to use this image. So she was placed on an ironing board. I've started to use ironing boards for many reasons. When I see the ironing board, I see an angel. I just see this halo going on in the work. The ironing board also looks like a figure. So if you're in a church and you're looking at stained glass, a lot of the angels kind of have the shape of the ironing board. So Miss Grauer's piece is called Queen of Angels. And I named her that piece just because of who she is and what she stands for. She was collaged onto blueprints from a school in actually Queen of Angels in Newark. So she was collaged onto the Queen of Angels blueprints, and I put her body onto the ironing board, and inside of her shirt is actually her family. Miss Grauer's family is very similar to my family, and that was another reason why I just was so drawn to her. My family is Afro-Cuban, Polish, and Jewish, and Miss Grauer is African American, but she married a Jewish man. So just the love that they had for each other, the stories that she would tell her husband when he was alive. I was fortunate to get to meet him, and Saul would tell the most amazing stories. I went to high school with two of her grandchildren, and I didn't know they were her grandchildren. So my first day at Arts High School, her granddaughter Aaliyah actually brought me to school because I didn't know how to get to Arts High School. And 2 years later, I realized that this girl in the picture is the girl that brought me to school when I was at Miss Grauer's house. So it's kind of funny how the universe, it works. And I know that this video is supposed to be about my art, but my art was influenced by Miss Grauer, and the piece was based on Miss Grauer, and it is why I do what I do. I actually want to share a very old photo with you. Back in the day, there was a program called Art Reach, and it was at City Without Walls, and I was a part of it, and my mentor was Miss Grauer. Then City Without Walls was located in the Gateway across from Newark Penn Station. So I'm going to show you a old picture of me. I believe I was 18 and Miss Grauer was in her 70s. So I'm not sure if you can see that. So this is me and Miss Grauer working in her studio, which was in the back of her home in Newark. The piece underneath is the piece I created. It's a corrugated piece of a homeless woman. And then this is Miss Grauer's piece beneath that. There's something else that I would like to share with you, which is a photo that has been circulating that I took of Miss Grauer. Each year we had a tradition, and the tradition was, since her 75th birthday, I would share her birthday with her every year. Miss Grauer's birthday is August 15th, and I would go to her home before I had children by myself and bring her a cake or bring her some lunch or whatever I could, or I would try to set a date with her because everyone wanted to take Miss Grauer out for her birthday. So on her 90th birthday, I went there. I had my children with me. My children love to go to her home, and they love to go to her home because of her stories and because of who she is, and just her, So this photo that I'm going to share with you. So on the piano is my son, Jacob. In the chair is my daughter, Eden. And then you see Miss Grauer sitting there. So we happened to be at her house. My son plays the piano, and he jumped on the piano. And Miss Grauer said to him, those keys are broken. So I don't know what you plan on getting out of that piano. Nothing's going to come out. And my son said, well, if anything I've learned from you is that you can make anything out of anything. You can create anything out of anything. So my son decided to try to play Happy Birthday to Miss Grauer on the piano with some keys that were broken. So there's other photos of us. There's other moments that I've shared with Miss Grauer. What I can say is each birthday we were on an adventure. We were either going to the Newark Museum, we were out picking up art supplies, I was helping her with some of her pieces, and really getting to know Miss Grauer as the artist, as I was becoming a professional artist. Because I was learning her as a student, but when I decided that I wanted to become a professional artist, I knew that I needed to stick by my mentor and learn these things. So again, the reason why I'm in the show, or the reason why the piece is dedicated to Miss Grauer, is because it's why I do what I do. The piece behind me is actually my grandmother. And I never saw Miss Grauer as my grandmother, but I saw her as someone who influenced me. And I never saw her as this 91, 92, 93, 94, 95-year-old woman either, because I just saw Miss Grauer, and that, I didn't see her age. And she didn't act her age either. So the piece behind me, very similar. It's a dedication piece. It's a dedication to women who have inspired me to do what I do. And so the piece behind me is my grandmother, Sylvia. And my grandmother was Polish Jew, and she married an Afro-Cuban man when biracial or interracial marriage couldn't happen. My grandmother was kicked out of her family or abandoned by her family, who is Hasidic Jew. And my grandmother decided that she loved my grandpa, and, that's what she would have to live with. Out of that marriage came 5 beautiful children, all of my aunts and my mother. So she's someone that I tend to put in a lot of my work. Just the love that my grandmother had for my grandpa and the family that she was building. And when I see myself, I see a reflection of my grandmother, and how she loved and respected everyone for who they were. And it didn't matter to her. So the piece behind is dedicated to her. I crowned my grandmother with her knitting and crocheting needles because I grew up in Jersey City, downtown, and I actually grew up in Highland Gardens projects. And my grandmother would sit in the front on a bench, and she taught everyone in the projects how to knit and how to crochet. And they would just come over and sit with her, and they called her Miss Green. My grandmother's name was Sylvia Green Jacobs. And my grandmother would teach everyone how to crochet. The other reason why I honored her or crowned her with the knitting needles is because my grandmother made a blanket for every grandchild. And my son, my grandmother passed 6 days before my son was born. So, and she passed because of heart disease. She, survived cancer, breast cancer, and then she survived from heart disease. And it was after my grandpa passed away. They were very, very close to each other. And my grandmother didn't get the chance to make a blanket for my son. So I decided that my son's name would be Jacob David, to honor my grandmother. So that is why I do what I do, is because of just the many women in my life that have pushed me to be me and to create in the way I do. And there's many, my grandmother Sylvia Jacobs, Gladys Barker Grauer, who passed away last September, Alita Caldwell, who was the principal of Arts High School, who introduced me to Gladys Barker Grauer, and my mentor now, and my mentor since I was 16, Bisa Washington. If it wasn't for Miss Caldwell introducing me to Bisa Washington and Gladys Barker Grower, and for Nettie Forte Thomas, who accepted my application and my work into Arts High School, these powerful women would have never came into my life. And I don't know if I would have figured out who I am as an artist if I didn't have them as mentors. So that is why I do what I do, and I hope that everyone can get out and see the dedication piece to Miss Grower at Express Newark. I want to thank Express Newark for allowing me to speak about why I created the piece. I also want to thank Miss Wheeler for inviting me to participate in the exhibition. And the exhibition, I'm so happy that it was done, because Miss Wheeler and Miss Grower used to create exhibitions for March with women in it, and I was featured in the last 3. And being featured in this exhibition without Miss Grower, it feels weird, but I know she's there. And when I created her piece, I actually created her piece in my garage studio on her table. So I inherited her drawing table and her desk. And when I walk into my studio, I know that she's there, and I know that she's watching over me. And I inherited supplies from Miss Caldwell's sister and Miss Caldwell's easel. So I know that their energy is in there, and they're watching me, and they're making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So I am, as Miss Washington would say, I'm their legacy, and I'm continuing in their path on my journey. Thank you.